Okay, this video is Internist conversation number 19. Okay, if you ever want to see any of the other internist conversations, just type in the search thing, conversation. You'll find all of them, and the nurse conversations too. Okay, so here it is. Internist says to me, Pete, I've been reading that second book by Nick Lane about mitochondria, and he's right. Everything depends on the mitochondria. All this health and longevity stuff is really dependent on getting the mitochondria to work well. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Nick Lane's real smart. He's written 3 books that are largely about mitochondrial function. The first one is Power, Sex, and Suicide. The second one would be like Oxygen. I might have gotten those 2 out of order. And then the most recent one was Transformer, all about how Krebs cycle can run forwards or backwards and all the things that regulate it and how he thinks life on Earth arose and how that led to bacteria having their outer plasma membrane being like a proton gradient. It's fascinating. And I said, yeah, mitochondria are amazing. Thousands of little nuclear power plants inside a tiny little cell. And I like Nick Lane because he's just trying to figure out how stuff works, how the mitochondria works, how the cell functions. Very interesting. And if you start out trying to understand how a cell works and just trying to understand what's the truth about how it works, you'll learn a lot of useful stuff. On the other hand, you could give $1 billion for research to make a drug for something and nothing good will come out of it. They won't even learn or teach anything useful from it. Internist, we should be focusing on how to improve mitochondrial function, not giving people drugs like statins, metformin, Plavix, and all the other ones that inhibit mitochondria. And then me, yeah, all this stuff is connected. You got to avoid the toxins, of course. But then from that, what food you eat, its effect on the gut, the leaky gut wall, intestinal permeability, its effect on blood flow, its effect on glycocalyx, its then effect on the plasma membrane, the sodium-potassium pumps, the cytoplasmic calcium concentration, and that influence on the mitochondrial function. It's all connected. It's all like part of a story, like a long narrative, And internist is like, yeah, every hospital in the Western world is full of patients who wish they would have learned about all this low-fat vegan stuff 10 or 20 years ago. Yeah, and it's too bad that doctors don't know this. They don't know anything about this nutrition. They're not aware it even exists. In my eyes, there's really like 2 parallel textbooks. There's the conventional medical textbooks that are just about selling drugs. And then there's like the parallel set of textbooks where all the truth is, from nutrition, toxicology, epidemiology. And I can tell you, all the great doctors, none of them are in the textbooks, not a single one of them. You won't find anything about Kempner. You won't find anything about Burkitt other than Burkitt's lymphoma, which is kind of irrelevant, a rare thing. You won't find anything about Nathan Pritikin, McDougall, Esselstyn, all these pioneers in nutrition. You won't find the great papers like, the high-fat diet causing blood sludge, occluding the small vessel of the eye, like the paper by Meyer Friedman and Ray Rosenman. You won't find the work of Peter Quo, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's kind of sad, And I've had medical students tell me, oh my gosh, no one has ever spoken to me like this before. You've connected everything. You're showing how it all connected. It all works. It all makes sense. I said, yeah. It's true, not to brag, but I'm like Isaac Newton. I put it all together. It's all there. It's all obvious. And then the intern says, yeah, these patients wish they'd have talked to you 10, 20 years ago. He says, now I look at them and they're like the Walking Dead almost. They're screwed. They're doomed. I mean, they have so much irreversible disease. I follow all the drug protocols, but I know the drugs don't work. The drug can't provide the dietary fiber their gut needs. It can't provide all the other stuff that plants provide, He says, once a patient gets all this irreversible disease, it's really hard to turn things around. And you can talk about like hypertension. The more chronically they're hypertensive, the more the arterial wall hypertrophies. You get more smooth muscle, bigger smooth muscle. You get glycation of the basement membrane. You get increased collagen laid down. And that's why hypertension doesn't immediately reverse quite often. If somebody's only had it for a little while, you can reverse it real fast. It's going to drop like a rock. But the longer they've had it, the more inelastic, pipe-like, scarred is the arterial wall going to be, the longer it's going to take to reverse that hypertension. The smooth muscle hypertrophy, that can be reversed. That's going to be reversed with some time. But, the collagen laid down, that's going to take a lot more time to reverse. But, it's worth a try. And even just by lowering insulin resistance and getting the plasma membrane pumps to work better because you got the right amounts of potassium coming in, and that just improves overall health. That'll dramatically reduce the risk of stroke, even if you don't control their blood pressure so well. Okay, me. And, I've said it before. We should live like Adam and Eve, but keep our indoor plumbing. Genesis 1:29. Internist. By the way, were you able to find any good research institutes? Me. Nah, they're all fake. I wish I had more time to do research. They're all just trying to sell drugs. I wish I had more time to do research I have to continue working in conventional medicine because I got a kid in college who's going to need probably 6 more years of tuition payments. Internist. There's only one way you're ever going to get more time for research. Me, what? He says, you're going to have to marry a smart, wealthy, older woman who'll support you and let you do research. I said, how mercenary. Yeah, right. So just another funny conversation.